You just can't win. What's up, my friends? Ashley here, and welcome to another Wine Talk Wednesday, where we sit down, we drink some delicious wine. I'm typically found with a messy bun and or a top knot, and we're just gonna talk about all of the real things. So, sorry about the lighting. I've got these overhead lights on that we have in our kitchen that my dear husband installed, and they're a little orangey. But we're gonna go with it tonight because that's life. So what are we drinking this evening? This is what I call the Walgreens special. It's 14 Hands Cap. It's a 2015. It's rather delightful. 14 Hands is actually a pretty well-known table wine. It's nothing super fancy, but it is very easy drinking. I'm a big fan of it. And they sell it at Walgreens across the street. And when you're in a bind sometimes, you send your husband to Walgreens. He gets scotch, you get a bottle of wine. It all works out for everybody. I actually had a really great bottle the other day called Tilt. Hold please, because it's worth sharing. It's in the bottom of the trash can. Oh, I stand corrected. It's got coffee beans on the bottom of it, but it's called Lilt. Kind of reminds me of Tilt. Or turnt, but it's called Lilt. It is a California Pinot, and it was delightful. I don't know. Anyway, so tonight I'm gonna be doing a little bit of like dual, like we're gonna talk, but I'm also gonna like be doing some things that are productive. For the first time ever, I'm going to use my spiralizer that I just picked up from Bed Bath & Beyond, or as my mom calls it, Bed Bath and Blow Me. My mom is a witty woman. I still call it that, BB&B, because it's like you walk in and you're like, ugh, how many things am I gonna buy that I don't need? It's like going to Target, but for wedding registries. It's crazy. So I'm gonna make some zoodles tonight because I am on a keto meal plan. And can I be honest, I failed over the holidays on keto. I'm no longer keto adapted, so I'm getting back into it. Trying to give myself some grace, but your girl did not stick to her plan. So I pretty much maintained through the holidays, and now I'm like, I'm going skiing in a month and I have goals, so that's happening. Anyway, let's drink. All right, so while I'm kind of doing this, I was thinking about some of the things that I could talk about, and I'm like, So there are many topics in which I could share with you my wisdom and my zucchinis, but tonight I'm gonna talk to you about self-love. What I've learned about self-love, why it's important to love yourself. I actually think if you go back to the early days when I used to, hello, I'm gonna stop. I did a blog back in my early days when I had the blog called Hot Mess Lioness. That was a me blog. I really don't know how to use this thing. I might need to get my YouTube out. But I did talk about why it's important to love yourself and accept yourself and give yourself some grace. And I think it's a topic that is really important as I've had some really interesting conversations with women that are more mature than me, both mentally, typically mostly mentally and physically. So they have some more years under their belt, if you will. I've been really blessed to be able to be surrounded with some women in my life that are just huge blessings to me, and have been through a little bit more life than I have and offer a different perspective, and I've appreciated them. And then women that are younger, cousins, friends, women that I work with, women that I just come into contact with through business and other ventures. And it is so interesting how we all have a common thread. There are typically things about ourselves that we don't like, or women seem to struggle with loving themselves for who they are. And one thing I want to touch on, and I feel like I really can, because I'm not gonna say like, oh, I totally accept myself and I love myself, but I have just in the last year really come to know who I am, and that I am a work in progress, and that's okay. I can find joy in my mess and joy in the process. And I just think that it's important that, man, if I could look back on, 20-year-old Ashley and just tell her like, it gets better. It gets better. The things that you worry about today, whether it's your clothes, your weight, your skin, your hair, the car that you drive, like, it's perspective. And like, you should really, I'm not gonna tell you what you should and shouldn't do. I would just encourage you to begin to focus on the things about you that you love, that make you unique, I would really just encourage you to just, man, if I could go back to when I was 20 and when I barely even knew who I was, and all of the struggles that I had with self-image and just accepting me for me and not being so hard on myself. Like, don't get me wrong, I set a standard pretty high for me, but like, I don't beat myself up so much anymore. I used to just beat the crap out of myself mentally, and it was taxing. And I think, truthfully, it set me back in a lot of areas. And it really, when it boils down to it, and I'm speaking to single ladies and married ladies too, how much you love yourself and how much you accept yourself, your self-acceptance will affect your relationship with your spouse. It just will. Because I, for a very long time, did not accept the love that my husband gave me because I didn't feel like I deserved it. Now we're getting deep. Whoa, girl. But it's true. I was ashamed of myself. I was ashamed of my body. And this is when I was overweight, and even before that, because I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. And it wasn't until really like 28, 29 that I started finding acceptance, especially in this last year, that I began to know that like my husband loves me. He loves Ashley. He put a ring, which I'm not wearing right now. He put a ring on my finger when I was at my heaviest weight, and I'm literally not doing any of this right now. But he did that because he loved me. He saw my soul, and he still loved how I looked, even though I was super overweight for my standards. But he saw Ashley for Ashley, and I was so blinded by the crap that this world put on me and cycles that I was caught up in that I didn't love me, and I wasn't able to receive his love. And man, I'll tell you what, marriage has taught me something. It's taught me many things, but it has taught me that if you want to make it work, you better know who you are. And if you don't know, you better figure it out pretty quick. Among many other things that are really important to have in a marriage, but you've got to learn to love yourself. And so how do you do that? Well, start looking at yourself differently. If I could offer you some tips, I would say, watch your words. There's that whole saying, watch your words, they become you, something to that extent. There's this book called Hung by the Tongue that I've read a lot of times in my life, and I always get something new, or I always receive a new message from it. But it talks about, the power of the spoken word and how we speak life or death into our lives no matter what. So if I get up every morning and I say that I'm fat and I'm lazy and I'm a slob and I'm not very successful, I will more than likely become those things because I'm manifesting that, I'm speaking that into my life. Versus if I get up every morning and I say, Ashley, you are a, now I'm drawing a blank. Hold on, break time. You are a passionate, driven young woman who is physically fit and healthy in all areas and aspects of her life. You are a wonderful You're a wonderful wife, and fulfill your husband, and you are successful in work and in business. And when you do that, you start to believe it or not. And you can even say, you make it as simple as, I love Ash, I love you. Look in the mirror and utter to yourself, name, I love you and I'm proud of you and I know who I am, or you know who you are. I was never good at that. Anyway, you could start there. Just start there. Pick out some things about yourself that you love. Believe it or not, the thing that I used to not like about myself, now I'm pointing at you with the cucumber so you know it's getting real, are my gums. Did you know my gums are my favorite thing about myself now? That's a true statement. I used to like be so, especially in high school when I had braces, I love to smile. Smiling's my favorite. It legit is, but I used to be so like self-conscious to smile. And I still did, but every time I did, I was like, oh my gosh, you got freaking horse. What's the name of that horse? Mr. Ed. Mr. Ed over here. You know, I had all my pretty friends in show choir or that played sports and photos, and I was over here like, and at the bottom of it all, you know, at the core of my heart, I really did love it about myself, but I was like afraid to admit that because I look different than other people. And as I got older, that's probably distracting, I just learned to love that about me. And so like a profile picture on my Instagram account is these big gums doing their thing, letting their light shine. And I love that about myself because it's what makes me me. It's what makes me unique. And so ladies, gents, I'm just gonna tell you, and then I'm gonna go spiralize my zucchini because it's 8 o'clock and I'm hungry. I'm gonna tell you that find some ways to love yourself. Get up and do some positive affirmations. When you catch yourself thinking, I hate this about myself, or I'm so fat, or I am this, just stop. Stop those words right now. Stop them in their tracks. I believe that you can do it. Hold on, I'm gonna get my zucchini. My husband's home, but I'm shooting a Wine Talk Wednesday, so I'm gonna keep shooting it because I'm almost done. But I'm pointing a zucchini at you, telling you wanna say hi?
No.
Do you want a cameo?
Well, if you're offering.
Are you making cucumbers?
No, it's
Make
not
cucumber salad?
It's a zucchini.
What are you doing with that?
I don't want to be judged by you right now.
Okay.
Okay. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Is that it?
That's all that I have.
So yeah, whatever you do, just start there. Start with catching yourself next time you start speaking something on you that is, I love you. He's doing one of these. That's like me when I do an asshole move in a parking lot and like cut somebody off accidentally. I do one of these. I'm like, I'm sorry. And they're like flipping me off in their brain, but it's all right. So no, I just think it's really important to start somewhere. Start speaking those positive affirmations into your life. Start believing it. Accept the compliments that you get. I tell you what, this guy used to compliment me all the time, and he still does. I don't know how after so long, I'm still the only woman that he ever looks at and that he lusts after. And that's pretty fantastic after being together for 10 years, right? But I'm talking about why it's important to love yourself, and how in our marriage, when I wasn't accepting of myself or loving myself.
It's hard for anybody else too.
Yeah, and how that held us up in marriage. So start taking those compliments. You know, for instance, if Adam tells me like, honey, you're looking so thin today, instead of me being like, yeah, but I feel bloated, or yeah, but I didn't hit my goal, or blah, blah, blah. Say thank you. So like thank you so much. And say it to yourself, like, I do look thin today. Start accepting those compliments. Don't take it and turn it and not receive it, because you'll start to believe those things. So instead of believing the negative and the lie, start believing the truth and bring life to it. That's all I have. I feel like I need to be drinking more wine for this conversation. That's okay, we're not going to. I'm gonna get back to my zucchini spiralizing. I got a note to write to a friend because she's doing cool things and I'm very proud of her. And I need to probably clean my kitchen and do a little bit more work and go hang out with my husband. So that was today's Wine Talk Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you next week for another WTW. I'm not really sure what we're gonna talk about. I bet it's gonna be something spectacular. If you have ideas or something that you want to hear or something that you want me to cover, I'd love to. Seriously, like, it's an open floor. I will talk about whatever you want me to talk about. except politics. I don't do that because I would probably just piss a lot of people off. Let's be honest. Anyway, I will see you next week. Have a good one.